What is cracking, Hope Nation? It's your friendly neighborhood, Kevin Hines. I'm thrilled today to be with my new guest on the HINESIGHTS Podcast, Anthony Armand Placet. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, man.
Good to see you, Anthony. Good to see you. Today's guest is not just a technologist. He's a bridge builder between human suffering and technological possibility, between imagination and infrastructure, between what is broken and what can be rebuilt. Anthony Armand Placet is a visionary creator at the intersection of fine arts, engineering, entrepreneurship, and mental health innovation. He is the mind behind the Real Mental Health Foundation app and the creator of the Founders to Funders SYNDKIT, a bold new ecosystem designed to rethink how ideas, capital, community, and purpose come together. What makes Anthony extraordinary is not just what he builds, but why he builds. He understands that technology is not neutral. It either deepens isolation or creates massive connection. It either accelerates harm or amplifies healing. And he has chosen to use his gifts to architect systems that elevate humanity. Today, we are going to explore his journey from art to engineering, from nonprofit impact to startup disruption, from solo founder to an army of AI collaborators, and from traditional models of fundraising to an entirely new blueprint for how companies, communities, and movements can be built in the age of AI. This is a conversation about the future of mental health, the future of entrepreneurship, and the future of what it means to be human in a world increasingly shaped by machines. Anthony, I'm deeply grateful for you being on the show. Welcome again to the HINESIGHTS Podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Sounds so good when you say it.
I take pride in my intros.
There we go.
Take pride. All right. All right, Anthony, my first question, possibly the most important question of the day. How is your mental health today, really, in this moment, as a builder, creator, and human being? How is your mental health?
Oh, I'd say it's quite good, man. Staying really busy, and I think that's the key to it. It's it's never been a more fun time to build, and so that makes me very, very happy. So in that respect, it's a good day.
I love it. It's a good day. It's a good day for me too. I'm really glad. All right, brother, you have a rare background that spans fine arts, engineering. How did those two worlds shape the way you think, create, and solve problems?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those kids who grew up sort of split between both minds. I always wanted to solve puzzles and build things, and then I also wanted to be creative and all that sort of stuff. And so I think, early on, I didn't know whether one was supposed to outweigh the other or whatever, but they've both always been there. So for me, they're sort of like one and the same now. I think, the cool thing is that technology has really made an avenue for creative people to be technical, and at the same time, created an avenue for technical people to be able to create things. And so this is just a wonderful time. If you're like me and sort of a split mind on the two things, you can do a little of both at any given time. And so it's used to feel like you had to choose one or the other. And now I think you get to be both, which is cool.
Love that. Before tech and startups, you were involved in nonprofit work. Yeah. Can you share your journey in the nonprofit space and how it influenced your understanding of impact and responsibility?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Boston, and Boston is home of a lot of entrepreneurial activity, but also a real lot of universities and not-for-profits. So some of my earlier jobs was doing like database work for the AIDS Walk Boston, which you would think is a simple thing, right? Like people are walking, but that created such an enormous movement for the people in the community. And so you see that a sort of simple act can have a profound effect on things. Secondarily, I had the privilege, I should say, of sort of being a mentor at a place called Artists for Humanity, another place in Boston, where the piece that was really amazing was that not only were they an after-school program for inner city kids in the arts, they would teach you how to do websites and all these other things, but they would make you go out and sell it. They make you go out and be an entrepreneur. And these kids had an incredible success rate of going on to higher education, doing really good things with their lives. And so kind of through some of those experiences, you just see where you can do well for people, but you can also make an impact in terms of being a business or even a nonprofit, either way. But again, you don't have to choose one or the other. They both can have a really big impact.
They both can have an impact, have a life, and continue to help people, and also bring in capital. When did you first realize that entrepreneurship could be a vehicle, not just for innovation, but for social and mental health transformation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really stretches back to that Artists for Humanity sort of experience as well, where it's you're doing something good. For instance, we had like a 7-color screen printing kit, and so like you would teach kids like sort of how to do screen printing, but then they're out selling those things. They're working with clients and all these sort of things. And when you give somebody a purpose, you give them something to do, you give them the reason that they want to get up and excel, that changes people's lives. And so that, I think, is a great deal of what mental health really is having a purpose, getting up, getting out there and getting it done and feeling good about the work that you do in a given day.
You hit the nail on the head. Anyone in any situation at any given time who lacks purpose can feel valueless. And when you feel valueless, you could potentially have to take your life. You could get into addictions. So feeling valued, having purpose can shape your future and could save your life.
That's exactly right.
Anthony, today, what are you actively building and what problem are you most obsessed with solving right now?
So currently I'm building two products, one in the mental health space for the really great thing. I helped them get the foundation off the ground about 2 years ago. Founder Sean has just done an incredible job of building the community and building the conversation around mental health, and especially as it pertains to his neck of the woods. Specifically, he was in investment banking and impact investing, sort of forgotten zone for these sorts of things. So he decided to turn negative experience that he was having and decided to turn it into something better. So I really was happy to help him do that. And so now fast forward about a year or two later, and he's done an incredible job of building the community out bigger. So what I'm doing is building a digital platform so that people worldwide can do simple things like take a walk together, do simple things like come together and have conversations and things like that. So that's what I'm doing on the not-for-profit side. And then for myself, the last bit of what we always said was the platform for the real was conversation, community, and capital. And so capital is important whether you like it or not. And so that's kind of something that I've become very passionate about, is trying to build better tools so that people can fundraise in a more effective way. I think it feels like a mystery to a lot of people. To some people, it's very simple, but for a lot of people, it feels like a mystery and they don't know where to start. They don't know who to speak to and all that. So I feel like I've helped a lot of people tell the right story to the right audience. And so that's what I'm trying to build today with SYNDKIT. SYNDKIT is a sort of, in its simplest form, you would drop in a deal deck PDF or something like that, and it scans it, analyzes it, takes out all the information, and then pairs you against the top investors that you should probably speak to. It lets you understand who they've invested in the past, who they've co-invested with, whether they've led rounds and things like that, so that you have a good idea of who you're approaching, which is really, really important when you're going to fundraise, that you're telling the right story to the right person.
Incredible. And where do they find SYNDKIT?
SYNDKIT.com. So that's SYNDKIT.com.
IT.com. You heard it first from here, the HINESIGHTS Podcast. So at one point, the project SYNDKIT had a more edgy name.
Yes.
What changed and what did that evolution teach you about identity, audience, and mission?
So, I come from a branding background. And so rule number one in branding for me is don't be forgettable, right? Or said another way, be memorable.
Yeah.
So when I had started this project, I wanted to find something really edgy and sort of out there. So we called the project Mobster Gang. And people love it, but in the world of finance is a little edgy. And a little bit too far, maybe, right? So technically, the company is still called Mobster Gang Inc. Platform. We needed to give a little bit more toned down version for people to follow. So it's SYNDKIT by Mobster Gang. But the cool thing is that I had built this whole like Grand Theft Auto world around like 80s retro graphics and stuff for Mobster Gang. And thankfully, to transfer it to SYNDKIT, I just had to sort of change the logo a little bit, but was able to sort of keep that flavor of the Grand Theft Auto sort of retro stuff.
Yeah. And that, by the way, it's really cool. So when you get a chance, go to syndikit.com and see what it's all about. And if you're looking to raise capital, this is your man to figure it out. How, what, where, what, why, and who. The name SYNDKIT is distinctive and very intentional. Why did you choose that name besides the fact that you had to switch from upstream? What was the other modus operandi there? And what does it symbolize for you?
Yeah. So, with naming, it's really important in fundraising too. Like, it's kind of important that if you're able to tell a good story to someone, they are very easily able to tell it to somebody else. Yeah. Because investors, historically work in syndicates. They share deals together. Sometimes the deal itself can be considered in syndication, but then maybe the triple or, double or triple entendre there is also that, the mob was known as the syndicate.
Yeah.
So, I like playing with words and having a little bit of fun, even though I'm like building a business and all that sort of stuff. So it felt like it was appropriate given all of those things. And it rolls off the tongue. It's pretty easy to say. I had tried a few other things and, just what you should do. I sampled it with a few people and saw what really was sticking with people and what wasn't. And this was the one that it just rolled off their tongue. They were happy to say it to somebody else. And that's important when it comes to marketing.
It's very important. It's important. It's quick. It's fast. Syndicate. You're right on the tongue. And then you've got you've got the real life mob syndicates. You've got the financial syndicates that exist, and you've got this syndicate that is your company that is actually going out there and connecting founders to funders, which is incredible.
Yeah. And one last thing on that, it may be a small thing, but the KIT at the end makes it feel like it's tools. Right?
Yes.
It's a toolkit.
Yeah, very true.
Right. And so
I saw that
toolkit for both people who are trying to raise funds and for investors who want to work together.
Yeah. It's a team effort.
It's a multiplayer tool. It's I think, one of the few or first multiplayer sort of environments for fundraising and for investing in that way, where you can invite your friends, invite your teammates and things like that, which, maybe some people like to do it alone, but it always feels very lonely to be raising funds. So at very least, you get your consigliere who's built into the platform that you can always ask questions to. And he's got all of the knowledge of all of the data and everything like that, including your deals. So your consigliere comes with standard. And so you never feel totally alone in SYNDKIT.
S-Y-N-D-K-I-T. Get that kit today.com. Okay. You made the decision to move forward as a solo founder.
Yeah.
What were the strategic and emotional reasons behind that choice?
Well, I really like to move fast. And like I said, I'm sort of split between arts and engineering. And I think in my earlier companies, I didn't feel like I had the technical capabilities to handle the engineering work. I was always very good at the, brand creation, creative writing, and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't feel like I kind of knew enough. But I learned at each step of the way. And now that AI is just so good, we're at the inflection point that as long as you're really curious enough, you can ask the right questions and you have a bit of a technical foundation. I will say, very nervous starting this to imagine that I could handle the technical work myself, but I was sort of curious if I could handle the challenge. And it's an amazing thing when you kind of going back and forth with these things, you sort of discover oh, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. And each day you learn a little bit more and a little bit more. And then it was I think I can do this. I think I can be a solo founder here and just have an army of AIs with me and just let it rip.
Just go. Incredible. Yeah. You just said it. You often say that it is you and an army of AI working together. What do people fundamentally misunderstand about building with AI?
Well, it's changing so incredibly fast. Anything you knew a year ago is probably out of date. Even things you may have known 6 months ago are probably out of date. So with that said, it's that the agentic coding tools are incredible and they're there for you. There's platforms like Replit, which are amazing, Cursor, which is amazing. And, sort of under that is Claude and Opus and all these things, not to just name bomb a million things, but these tools are incredible today. They're going to even get better. But if you were ever scared about building something because you weren't sure whether you could handle it or something, now's the time to try it again, because these tools will help you get a long way. They will explain to you what you need to know along the way. So there's nothing holding you back. There's just it's a huge playground. And so if you enjoy creating and if you enjoy playing around, this is a wonderful time to get into it.
When you look ahead, what does the future of building actually look like for founders, creators, and innovators?
I'm optimistic, right? I think you kind of have to be optimistic to be an entrepreneur. And so I think that this is probably the most incredible time to build that maybe has ever been. The barrier is incredibly low. The dollar price to actually do these things is incredibly low, if not free. So I'm hoping that whatever this wave is just unlocking people to just create the thing that they always thought about, that they never thought that they actually had the skills to do. I can see that just unlocking so many useful tools for people, even if it doesn't go mass market, even if it's something that you just needed to do. Maybe you're a parent and you needed something to solve for your infant, or maybe you're in high school and you just needed something that helps you with homework or something. You can do it. And I just think that that's incredibly liberating. And, it's time to just go for it.
Go now.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah. Just build something.
Just build something. Create.
Just build it. Yeah.
Anthony, many people are asking whether there is still a future in fundraising, company building, and investing in a world where machines can automate so much. Do you believe human founders will remain essential, or are we headed toward a radically different paradigm?
We're definitely headed towards a different paradigm. There is no doubt about it. But as long as humans are around, and I think we'll be here for a little while longer, it's still very, very important to build relationships. And
Yeah.
there's really only one way to do that, and that is person to person. There's I don't really know that there is anybody who thinks that you can fully replace what it means to be human. And I think, if anything, the jobs of the future are going to be the pieces of humanity that can't be replaced. That is the relationships, that's caring for one another, that's being there for your other folks and all that sort of stuff. I don't exactly know how it looks. I don't exactly know how it works out, but I do know that letting the machines do what they're good at frees you up to do more of the human stuff.
Brother, what ethical responsibilities do founders have when they are building technologies that directly influence mental health, identity, and community?
I'm of the belief that ethics are of the highest order. And I think it's really, really important, especially if you're going to build around mental health and anything sensitive like that, that you really make sure that you build securely, safely. You always have the customer and the user in mind, and you really do your best. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but you should really be intentional about always trying to do the best to preserve privacy, to preserve rights, to be of the highest value that you can be in that space. It's your job, if you're going to provide tools for people, that you do the best that you possibly can to keep their data safe, to keep their privacy safe, and all that sort of stuff. And it's difficult. There's no doubt about it. But your responsibility is to try and to try to do your best and to try to not be exploitative. And I think that that's really, really very, very important.
Keeping the highest ethical standards is crucial. If you could redesign the global startup ecosystem from scratch today, right now, what would you change?
I think it's just teaching earlier. I think the first time I ever heard the word entrepreneur, I was in middle school. I actually distinctly remember the moment, and my principal said it to us. And it's not something that was ever taught. It's not something that was ever said anywhere else. It took years and years and years for me to even understand what that word meant. We weren't taught finance. We weren't taught any of that sort of stuff. I think if we were going to start it over again, invest early, because the longer time scale is better. Teach people how to create responsibly, and just do it sooner, do it earlier. There's no barrier in terms of how old you can be to actually create value for the people around you. And so the earlier, the better. And I just think that if I were to do anything, I would make access to capital a little bit more level grounded. And I would make sure that kids know, and this is like the same thing going all the way back to that Artists for Humanity thing, that you can be creative, but you can also provide value to those around you. And it's cool to like print the t-shirt, but go out there and also sell it. That's how you build the relationships. That's how you learn to speak to people. All that stuff is just really important.
That maybe makes me think of my buddy Dan Martell, who went from a jail sentence in petty crime and misdemeanors, things like that, to thriving success and the $100 million man, the SaaS king, and all these things. He actually teaches young people how to be entrepreneurs from the very get-go, that when they understand the word, how to actually implement, put it into practice, make that money, and change their lives and change their families' lives and build generational wealth. It's really incredible. So what you're saying actually reminds me of my buddy and the people that are out there helping people do just that. And I think SYNDKIT will open the doors for a lot of people to do what they've never thought they could do before, and find thriving success.
Yeah. Can I share one more story?
Please.
So some years ago, I used to work at MIT Sloan Business School in Cambridge. I was the creative guy who is, behind the camera. I'm usually the one behind the camera, not often the one in front. But I got the privilege of sitting in on classes and being privy to knowledge that not everyone on the outside gets. And I got to see finance professors talking about how they create businesses and what they called creating a money pump, and how the mechanics of it worked and all that sort of stuff. And that's not knowledge that I would have necessarily had access to otherwise. And it changed my life. I never was able to stop thinking about that moment in time. I just think that the more people can be exposed to how you can change the world around you, how you can create value for the people around you, the better, So just having access to those knowledge bases, like open it up, allow people to know about it.
Crucial. Love that. Anthony, what is one truth about entrepreneurship that no one prepared you for?
Let's see. I mean, I think it's something along the lines of it's mostly suffering, kind of like life itself, like a little bit, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Like you kind of got to be like the Buddhist about it or something.
Yeah,
Like,
you gotta get those 97 no's before you get that one yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so I think like it only makes sense in hindsight because you kind of only remember the one yes, not the 97 no's.
Yeah.
Right?
The
It's like,
fog man, right? Yeah.
and so it's kind of like go into it open-eyed that it's not an easy path, but it's the most fulfilling. If you like figuring things out, you like the puzzle of life and all that sort of stuff, and you're an optimist, it's a good puzzle to play.
Love that. What gives you the most hope when you think about the future of mental health and technology working together?
I think it's the simple things. When I think about the Real Mental Health Foundation, when I think about all the way back to, the AIDS Walk Boston and things like that, the simplest things make the most difference. That we're talking about people just deciding to walk together, right? We all do it every day. It seems like a throwaway activity, and yet it's not. Just going for a walk with people, just talking about and being able to be real with people, those things matter a lot, and they can literally change the world. So I think the more that we can remember just to do the simple things well and be human together and just connect in these really, really simple ways. My goal is to help more people find each other and be able to do that simply. If I can contribute in that way, that's wonderful. But the bottom line is it's the simple things. And so if you really want to make sure you have good mental health and you really want to be a positive piece of the puzzle, go find someone who needs to take a walk with you, man, and go for a good long walk and just talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And that will make a world of difference to both people.
Easy. Final question, Anthony. And for this one, I want you to look right in that camera. If a young founder listening right now feels completely overwhelmed, underfunded, unseen, and unsuccessful, what do you want them to hear from you today that inspires them to keep moving forward?
The only real way to overcome anxiety is through action. So the worst thing you can do is freeze up. But the best thing you can do is keep going, keep building, keep creating, and don't be shy about it. The whole thing is a giant art critique, right? And you shouldn't take that personally. You should be happy to show people and get feedback, make changes, adjust, change, but you must keep building. You must keep creating. It's the only thing that really matters. And the more you do it, the more practice you get into, the better you get at it. And so there's only really one wrong answer, and that's to freeze. The right thing to do is just build more, do more, create more, and be okay.
Don't stop. Your mission is aligned. You're supposed to be here. You're meant to keep going, move forward, and be here tomorrow and every damn day after that.
That's right.
Anthony, I want to thank you not just for your incredible brilliance, tech-wise and arts-wise, but your courage. The courage it takes to build in public, the courage it takes to challenge broken systems, and it takes that same courage to believe that technology can be used not just to scale profit, but to scale compassion, hope, healing, and recovery. Your work reminds us that future is not something that simply happens to us. It's something we can help design, line by line, choice by choice, and value by value. To everybody listening to the Hindsights Podcast, if this conversation moved you, challenged you, or inspired you, share it with someone who needs that hope, who needs that vision, or that permission to dream bigger and to do more. The future of mental health, entrepreneurship, and humanity is not just being built by machines alone. It's being built by people who care deeply about and enough to imagine something better. Anthony Armand Placet is here with us today. Thank you for being one of those people, a champion of true change. And thank you for joining us for the Hindsights Podcast. Join us next Tuesday for another incredible episode. Be well, take care, and be here tomorrow. See ya.
One thing real quick.
Yeah.
I know you just did an amazing sign off, but
oh, yes.
Kevin, you get Mobster Gang
This
official hat.
OG hat. This is incredible.
You're an official member
Yes.
of Mobster Gang.
Oh,
Mobster Gang
yes.
doesn't go away.
This is
So
incredible.
that's it, man.
Look at that. This is the thumbnail right here, baby. Yes.